Today I'm going to show you guys how to roll the fenders on your car. Now some of you might ask, why do you need to roll the fenders on your car? Well, you might get yourself a pair of Federal 595RRs. Don't forget about my coupon code, link in the description below. And you get some wide wheels with it because you want some grip. And when your suspension compresses, there's a fender lip here on some cars, and you need to roll that. You got to roll it back so that way it doesn't rub. The Stancy kids will do this as well. That way they can fit more wheel but less tire. Anyway, regardless of what you're doing, I'm going to show you how to do it properly today. So the first things you're going to need to do it properly, that is a fender roller. These can be found all over the internet. The Eastman is probably one of the nicer ones you can buy, but you can also buy cheap eBay ones. You'll need a heat gun. You're going to have to heat up the metal, and I'll show you guys why and how. You're going to need something to clean with. I'll go into this in a second. And then obviously you're going to have to lift up the car and remove the wheel. So let's go ahead and start with that first. So first thing we're going to start doing, we're going to clean the fender lip here. We clean this fender lip because a lot of road grime, dirt, whatever, just from driving, accumulates in here. And if you were to roll it without doing that, without cleaning it first, what can happen is that paint might crack. It's because when we roll the fender and that lip comes flatter and flatter, that dirt has nowhere to go. So sometimes it could come out, make it crack, whatever. We're going to clean it beforehand so we don't run the risk of doing that. So let's take something to clean with. I'm using some spray detailer and a microfiber. I've used rubbing alcohol before, that works fine as well. Whatever works to clean it and get it completely clean on the surface. Get a microfiber you don't love. Get one you just like as a friend maybe, but only a friend you'd see like once a month, because this isn't going to get dirty. So we're just going to soak the towel in because I don't want to try to spray towards myself and get detail on my face. Doesn't sound pleasant. That's pretty nasty. Okay, now that we have it up clean and dry, we can run our finger across it and our finger will still look clean. We can now mount the fender roller. They're drilled out for different bolt patterns, so just figure out the one that works for you. I had one in the past where it wasn't even remotely close to 5x114, so I'd use a Dremel and open it up a little bit, and that works. So we're going to do that next. We'll adjust it so that way this part is downward so we can get as much room as possible in there. So let's take this off for a second and look at it. When I rotate it clockwise, the arm starts to come backwards more. So we're going to put it in like that to give us as much room as possible. We loosen this guy here, and that'll let us move this and change the angle of it. I'll show you where we want the angle when we start. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to set this up properly so we can roll this guy. So we don't want this completely facing 90 degrees outward. That's going to be too aggressive for when you roll, and that could roll it too fast, which can lead to cracking the paint, and we don't want that. I mean, if you don't care about that, go to town, but I'm sure 50% of you guys care about your paint. So we're going to do it like we care about the paint. So we're going to set it up at an angle like this, about right before it goes above the fender line, and we're going to tighten it down there. So next thing we do, we're going to start bringing it out just until it's barely touching on the fender. Just when you can start feeling a little bit of resistance in this, that's where you want to stop. We're going to adjust again, see if we can get a little more angle out of it. And then we're going to leave it there. This is the part where we start heating up the metal. We're going to use the lug nuts to fasten it down. So let's get this guy warmed up. We're going to start warming up the metal. If you don't have a heat gun, you can always use a blow dryer on its hottest setting. We're just going to start evenly heating up the metal back and forth. Be wary, don't burn your paint. You can get it too hot where the paint's going to burn. You're going to want to get it hot enough where it's about hot to the touch but doesn't burn your hand immediately. Roughly 120 degrees is the number we're looking for, so if you want to get that finicky about it, you can have a temperature gun and figure that out as well. Don't forget also, we're going to have to heat up the inside of the fender as well. Not only the outside, but the inside of the metal. So we're going to have to stick it in here like this and work with it that way as well. So now that it's warm enough, we're going to keep heat on it still while we roll, but we're going to crank this out another turn and start moving it. We're going to slowly start bending the metal. You're going to want to lead with the gun and follow with the wheel. As we get the metal more malleable, we can start cranking it out a little more. Consistently check to make sure that the metal's still hot. To be honest, I'm a little worried that the paint might crack because I actually have a lot of rock chips in here just from hucking rocks up into it. So this is the part where I tell you I'm not liable if you screw up your paint or fenders or anything. This is just me trying to help you out, and if you screw up, that's your fault. I've covered my ass. One little tip I want to give you guys is if we're working in a large range and we're trying to keep it hot, one tip that might help you guys is start with like a quarter of it and just work on that part, and then come back and work on this part, so that way you don't have that big leeway of time where it can cool off. One little thing to keep in mind, as that fender starts to get flatter, we may have to change the angle of this wheel if we want to get the fender totally flat. Just keep that in mind. Every car is different. But as you're going, if you see you're not really making progress, or you feel like you're pushing the fender out and you don't want to pull it, you just want to roll it, start changing that angle on this one. Alright guys, there we have it. It's kind of hard to see because the car's black, so I'm sorry. But I didn't roll it completely flat, but I got it pretty close just because I'm not too worried about getting completely flat. I'm just barely rubbing with these tires. So guys, that's how you roll fenders on a car. Now I have a couple more tips to give you guys before you guys go off and do this on your own. One thing you want to keep in mind the whole time you're doing this is don't rush it. If it feels like it doesn't want to bend, take it back a notch, heat it up a little more. Take it slow. The metal will bend. You don't want to crack your paint. If you don't care, send it. If you feel you're not comfortable, whatever, take this to a shop, guys. Body shops a lot of times will have these. They can do this for you. A lot of performance shops will have these on hand. Hit up your local shop, see if they can do it for you. One tip I do suggest is try to do it on a warmer day. It's kind of warm today in Utah. I would have waited a little longer to do this personally, but race day's in a couple days and I'm rubbing, so. The reason I say wait for a warmer day is that way if it's cold outside and you're trying to heat up this metal and there's that temperature difference outside, it might cool down too fast and you might risk cracking your paint. That's the big thing we're trying to avoid here, is ruining your paint. For those of you wondering, the wheels I'm running are the 18 by 10.5 plus 22 size with 275/35s on them. I used to run these last year and I didn't have to roll the fenders, but that's because I had about 2.5 degrees of negative camber in the rear. Recently I installed some camber arms from SPC, brought it down to about 1.8 degrees negative in the rear, and now they rub under heavy compression. I'm only going to do this to the rear of my vehicle. The front of the 350Z, the fenders are already rolled from the factory actually. Now some people do roll them a little more to get them flat, but they're rolled about to the point where I have them now. They're at about a 60 degree angle. If this was a straight up, they're about 60 degrees, 70 degrees, and that should be plenty, because when your car compresses, the suspension naturally will camber in a little bit. And that's kind of how I was getting away with it originally with more camber, but now that I have less, this should be just fine. And at least now if it does rub, it's a smooth surface it's going to rub against, rather than a harsh, sharp piece of metal going out this way. So I hope this video was helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions. If you liked this video, if it was helpful, hit the like button and subscribe. And thanks for watching, guys.